Hello and welcome, I'm Tim, and this is both TimBatSea and SV Paquita. Yeah, that's right. We've got one video and two channels. Actually, as you know, by the time you guys see this, I will have dipped my foot into retirement, maybe sabbatical, gone away for a while. Cristalita and I are sailing, hopefully off to the Mediterranean and all kinds of good stuff. But anyway, I have some stuff that both of you will want to see, and talking about anchoring and some other stuff too. But first, we got to round up on this barge. Here we go. Remember, you got to talk me over to that thing. So before we go to anchor, we got to round up on a barge. So let me, just in case you guys aren't all on board with what's going on here. When I'm not sailing, I have been working as a merchant mariner for most of my career, and I am, in this particular video, I'm the captain of a ocean-going tugboat. And we have been moving fuel for the Navy, for the jet fuel for the Navy all around the U.S. And in this case, we are, I think we're going up to Norfolk, Virginia here. And when we tow on the wire, and that allows us to go in heavy seas. Then when we get to where we need to be, we round up on the barge and grab a hold of it. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. Very good. So right now, the whole idea is that I slow the barge down, get it going in the direction that we want to go in. In this particular case, and we're going to talk about this in anchoring, I didn't just do this. I did this so that when we get to where we're going, the bow of the barge, we anchor with the anchor on the barge, because obviously the barge is huge and the tugboat is small. So we flop on it. We do what we call going heads and tails. All right. And so now, what I'm doing here is I need to go, the inertia of the light barge will keep it moving towards the anchorage. I'm in one anchorage and I'm headed for another one. We're actually going to what we call Juliet. All right, I'm trying to get the barge to kind of turn with the wind a little bit. And I can't see all the way up to where the guys are in the bow, because obviously the bow kind of comes in at an angle, so I can't see around that angle. Good deal. So what happens is I get to where I think I need to be, and then the guys will call me in on the radio. They'll say, okay, you got to come ahead so many feet, or you got to go drop back, or you got to just come over. And so this whole time I'm slowing everything down. Before I've done all this, I've made a security call, and I've got everything, I've made all the traffic in the area aware of what we're doing, because at this point right now, until we get that headline up, we don't have a whole lot of control of things. I still have the wire attached, so I could put it back on the wire, but I'm not really in a good position to do anything. I'm bringing you back in. So now we're coming alongside, and once I get that bow in there, I want to get it in without thumping the barge. Fortunately, I've been doing this for a few years. Almost 30 years, not quite 30 years. But anyway, when I started out, it's very common to come around and smack the side of the barge. And that's something that I don't really like doing. So hopefully, in this case, we took my time. We had plenty of room. I was able to bring it in nice and gently over here. So anyway, while this whole thing is taking place, I wanted to talk to you about anchoring. And here, I have had Paquita, my sailboat, in Lake Sylvia. I actually rent a dock on the canal, on a canal up the New River, in front of somebody's house, and you're not allowed to spend the night on the boat there, because they don't want people like Airbnb-ing boats in the canal and that sort of stuff. So I go up there and I get the boat and I have to run it out of the canal and down the New River and over to Lake Sylvia. And Lake Sylvia sounds like it's a freshwater lake. It looks like a lake, but it's all salt water. It's very tidal. Anyway, it's an anchorage there, and it can get loaded with all kinds of people. And I have been amazed at the things that I've seen things in Lake Sylvia I've never seen in my career anywhere. As far as I want to say people's anchoring skills, but more accurately, it's really their lack of skills. And I'm not really doing this to I was thinking that I would start videotaping people attempting to anchor. That was something that I saw many times while I was anchored there, and I'm amazed. I'm really amazed, and I don't know. And look, the reason why I'm not showing the videos of people doing crazy things is because it's great that everyone should be able to boat, and everyone should do that. I'm just amazed that some people will drop hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on a boat, and just because it's a big boat, they think that by the ability to buy a big boat, they come with a big amount of nautical knowledge. I will see people do all kinds of things, and we'll talk about those things, but I'm not going to show them just because, maybe I'll show you on paper what's going on. But anyway, in this particular case, I will go, while they're doing here, what's going on now is that the tankerman has gone up those holes right there. We call those the pigeon holes, and that's the ladder. He's gone up there, and so right now we have the wire acting as a stern line, which isn't ideal, but it's okay. And then we have a strap on the head where it's a big loop, like a big donut, and that goes to our H-bit in the bow. And now what we're going to do is put up another stern line so I can relax the wire, because there's no give in that wire, and having no give in there can put an awful lot of strain with shock loads on there. That's something that I talk about in a lot of other videos here on the TimBatSea channel. But anyway, we're putting that up, and that's what we're doing. But you know what? I think I'm going to take a break and go over to the chart plotter and give you guys kind of an idea of what my plan was. Because like many things in life, let alone anything on the water, everything's a lot better if you have a plan. And even if you don't stick to the plan, sometimes you have to be flexible enough to change the plan. But if you have a plan, you've got a starting point, and you don't just go in blind. And so let me go to the chart plotter and see if I can insert some video here. Okay, so here we are. This is a blown out version of the East Coast entering the Chesapeake Bay here, right here. So I just wanted to give you guys an idea where it is. Here's the entrance channel. You can see this red line is our track line in. And look, just for people, actually that was our track line out, I do believe, yes. For people that don't know this, oh wait, here it is, there it is. If you're going into the Chesapeake Bay, especially if you're going in Thimble Shoal, because of the military boats here, you'll see a lot of recreational boats going down right in between the red and the green like you normally would. But that's for deep draft vessels, not only ships, but really for aircraft carriers and stuff like that. The rest of us people should be on the outside, what they call the auxiliary channels. So this is coming in, and you can see where I came down here like this, and then right here like this, and then I made it 90 degrees. So when you cross a channel like this, you want to do it as quickly as possible and a perpendicular to it, so you don't tie up the lanes. Then you get over here and you go over, and you'll see that we come in, and then we come up here, and as it gets tighter, you come in by the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel. Even so, everyone's, oh, it's getting tight there. You can see I came right over here, and you go right, I'm still outside of the channel. That's in the auxiliary channel. You can see when we came out before, we've done a couple trips here, we came out this way, and once I got through here, got a little bit more distance over there. But anyway, so make sure you do that if you come into Thimble Shoal. And we go all the way up to what we call the submarine buoys. These are the submarine buoys right there. You can see I came up there, come around there. But now this whole time I'm thinking about where I want to anchor. I'm making security calls to let everyone know. And this right here, that little divot right there, that is where we did our thing. I was going to do it over here because I knew I wanted to be in Juliet, this is the Juliet anchorage over here. But there was some traffic at the time, so I said, you know what, to hold up for the traffic and the wind, the conditions were right, I'd round up right here and we'd go across this way. I knew that the wind and the tide are going to make everything go. You see this other boat right here? That boat was pointing that way, exactly the same way. So by looking at other boats in the anchorage and understanding the wind and the tide, I knew how I was going to end up. So my plan was, if I rounded up on the barge and drove up to the barge, then I'd have to get up here and spin around, because remember, I'm heads and tails with the barge, so the barge is backwards. So what my plan was to drive it right up here like this, and when we got up there, I'd be able to drop the anchor and it would fall right into place. And that's kind of what it did. Let me show you here. So if I zoom in here, you can see I drove right up here, we dropped the anchor, let it fall back, and we've been here ever since. And even through some tide changes and all that, there's enough current that comes out of the river here, the James River, that holds us in position. Wind hasn't been blowing that much. So this is where we are right now, you can see. And anyway, that's how I did that. So let me, what my thinking was. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew how everyone was laying. I was going to drive up there, drop the anchor, fall back, and everything would work out well. And it did. And we're here, and that's all part of a good plan. So, and I'm the first one who will say, the best part about a plan is having a plan B or C, D, and F sometimes you need. But if you have it in your mind, that's good. And I bring this up because I think one of the things that I see in Lake Sylvia all the time, when I was there for 3 weeks, I saw this constantly, where a big boat, I mean, we're talking $300,000 or $400,000 boat, comes up, they get right to where they want to be, and they drop the anchor. Unfortunately, that's never going to work, because if you drop the anchor straight down, that's not where you're going to stay. That would be like a mooring at that point. But an anchor is going to need a little bit of scope out, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But the boat would, when it falls back, it pays out the anchor. Now he's not where he wants to be anymore. So then they'd heave up the anchor, go right back to the same spot they want to be, and they drop it again. They do that 2 or 3 times, and then they'd heave up, and then they're getting frustrated, and everyone's getting angry. So they say, well, it must be bad holding. So then they move to another part of the anchorage and do the same process over again. So part of your plan should be, how am I going to lay after I drop the anchor? And you can determine that by wind and current. But you also, especially if you're a sailboat, well, it doesn't matter. Even if you're a power boat, you should look at the boats around you. Most people that have been out here on the water will know by the looks of a boat whether it's going to be a boat that's more like a production boat that might have a fin keel, or it's the old style boat that might have a full keel. That's going to be really important, especially in a place like Lake Sylvia, where full keel boats are going to react a lot more to the current than they will the wind, as opposed to power boats and fin keel boats will usually react more to the wind than they will to the current. And that's just because of how they're designed, how the boat is designed. And so what that means is, if you have a full keel boat, anchor right by me. I'm a full keel boat too. The odds of us coming together are very, very minimal. Even though we're both in the same anchor circle, we'll move together as one. But if you have a full keel boat next to a boat that's not a full keel boat, maybe it's a power boat that only draws 3 feet or whatever, he's going to blow around, and while I'm going to be pointed into the tide, if a little bit of wind goes the other way, he's going to come over and slam right into me. So just keep that in mind too. So it's not just where you're going to be. Part of your plan shouldn't only just be where you're going to be and where you're going to end up, but it's also, who are your neighbors around you. All right, so look, let's get back to the other video, and so you can see me actually anchoring this thing. Okay, so we've all set. We're moving into position to where we need to be. As you can see, I've changed how we've changed cameras here, so you can see the stern of the tug and the bow of the barge, because we are, once again, when we're flopped like this, we call this heads and tails. So we're actually running the barge backwards. And in this particular day, with the wind and the tide, that's going to be good, because the wind and the tide are coming from the stern of the tugboat, which would be the bow of the barge. Anyway, so I'm bleeding off speed right now. And if you're doing this with your power boat or sailboat, you would be doing the same thing. You just wouldn't have a barge alongside. You'd be getting into the position that you'd want to be. The only difference is that in this scenario, I'm anchoring with the barge. So because of that, if I were doing this, if I were in my sailboat, or if you're in your power boat, you'd want to be going against the wind and the tide. You're going to be going 180 degrees from the forces that are out there. So in this case, the barge is going, as it's going from left to right, the wind is also going from left to right. But when we drop the anchor, it'll set right in position. So we get it down, we get to about where we want to be, and this is a crucial mistake that I also happen to see people do in Lake Sylvia all the time. And that's that they come flying up to the right position, they get right there, drop the anchor. They're yelling and hollering and screaming at their wives and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, look, whether you want to yell and scream at each other, that's your business, that's not mine. But as far as anchoring goes, you need to stop your forward momentum. It doesn't matter if you have lateral or sternway on, but you can't have forward. I mean, you don't want lateral movement, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. What you need to do, as you can see the quick water behind me there is stopped. So I got the boat stopped, and if you're not sure whether you're stopped or not, what I do on the tugboat is I just look at the GPS thing. When I get that GPS down to 0, then I wait and I actually get it going a little bit astern. And you might want to do that as well. So I've calculated where I'm going to drop the anchor and where we're going to be when we continue. Now, I'm saying that I would be going astern. Remember that the tug and the barge are heads and tails. So you want to get up, if you're doing it in your regular boat, you would drive up to the position, you get your headway to 0, and then you'd start backing. And the reason why you want to do that is that you want the anchor to pay out towards the wind or the tide, whichever way. And you can do that you can figure it out by how your neighbors are laying. They'll give you a good indication of how you're going to lay. Anyway, once you do that, I usually like to have almost a knot of sternway. And whether I'm on a tug barge or whether I'm on my own personal boat. Now on Paquita, because it's a full keel, when I start to back and I'm paying, a lot of people will drop a lot of chain as soon as they get to where they're at. And in a place like Lake Sylvia with 10 or 15 feet of water, they might put 25, 30 feet. All you're doing is you're putting a big mound of chain on top of your anchor. And so if you could literally foul your anchor on your own chain. So that's why we like to have a little bit of sternway. We also like to have a little bit of sternway because it will put the flukes in the right way. The anchor will stick in on the right direction. So now, in my case, I'm getting in position. I've given it a blast just to help it pay out. Gordon, the tanker man, is letting the windlass out, and this is just a bigger version of what you would do in your powerboat. There's really nothing different here. So you keep paying it out, and you get to how much you want. Now, let's talk about, while Gordon's doing all this and making all that fast, let's talk about a couple of different schools of thought with how much scope you put up. And especially in a place like Lake Sylvia, look, if you're the only person in an anchorage and you've got miles of real estate all around you, you do whatever you want. It was funny. I was just watching a video the other day, and some kids were anchoring, and they say, "Oh, look, we're in 10 feet of water, but we put 120 feet of chain out because there's nobody here, and why not?" Well, they went to go haul up their anchor, and the anchor got caught on a piece of rebar that was sticking. Not the anchor, the chain did, because they had so much chain. So that's one reason why you don't want to put out an excessive amount of chain. I mean, like if you're in places that have coral or bommies, you can get it stuck on there as well. You also do more damage to the seabed as well. But as far as whether you put stuff out, you really have to look at your surroundings. If you're in a protected place like Lake Sylvia, you have so many people that are around you. My school of thought is that I have more risk of hitting somebody else in the anchorage than I do of going aground. You know what I mean? My anchor will probably reset before any of that happens. A lot of people will say, "Oh, you need to have 5-to-1 or 7-to-1 or 10-to-1 scope out." And all those are for different conditions and different stuff, and all that's fine. I'm assuming that we all have boats that have a chain rode, that it's not a rope. And if you just have a piece of nylon going to an anchor, you're probably not going to hold very well at all. If you're in a situation like that, you might want to put about 20 or 30 or maybe even 50 foot of chain on there, and that just holds the tongue down of the anchor. So you're really using that chain as weight. But anyway, I found, this is not my idea, and this is not something that we do in the commercial world, but it's something that I've started doing after doing some research a number of years ago, and I've really started to like this, and they call it double plus 50. So if you have a chain rode, you double your depth, and then you add 50 feet. And the idea is that if you're in really shallow or really deep water, if you're in 100 feet of water and you want to do 5 to 1, you'd have to put out 500 feet of there's so much chain there, your anchor's never going to dig in. It's just going to be sitting on the weight of the chain. So that's why you wouldn't do that. So anyway, if you're in Lake Sylvia, if I'm in, say, 12 feet of water, I would double the depth. That would be like 24, we call it 25 feet of water, and then I'd add 50 feet on top of that. That would be ideal. And so I'd put out 75 feet, and that would be great. Now, in a place like Lake Sylvia, I mean, I would do that anywhere. Double the depth plus 50 with my Rockna anchor has been working for me all over. Like I say, in the last 4 years, we've put almost 12,000, almost 13,000 miles under the keel already. And that works very well for me. And it also doesn't put too much out, which is the thing that I'm trying to avoid. But in a place like Lake Sylvia, I can't do that because people are too close. So I think in Lake Sylvia, when I had I think 12 feet of water, I think I ended up putting out about 45 feet of chain, which was just under. I just was seeing the right on deck. I was seeing my 50-foot marker, which some people would say is not enough, but the holding in Lake Sylvia is phenomenal. So the idea is that I'm more concerned about swinging over and hitting somebody else or having somebody hit me than I am about us dragging. I always sleep with an anchor and an alarm anyway. So as I drop the anchor on my sailboat and I start backing, inevitably, because all of the keel and the weight is in the back of the boat, the bow is going to fall off one way or the other. And I don't care. That same thing happens on the tugboats. I let it fall off. Go ahead, let it fall off. I'm doing a knot backwards and probably a knot or maybe even a knot and a half sideways. Then when it comes in, that anchor comes tight, it snaps you right along. You don't, a lot of people say, oh, you got to back down at 1800 RPM. If you're coming back at a knot and I got a 30,000 pound boat, that anchor is stuck and you are good to go and you look like a champ. I hope that really helps. You guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'm hoping that the people both channels get something out of this. If you are not a subscriber to SV Paquita, do your old buddy Tim a favor. Come over to that one. We're going to be putting up a lot more content over there now that I'm retired or taking a sabbatical, whatever I'm doing. So anyway, thank you so much. Take care. Be safe. And as always, I'll see you on the one. That's how you do it.